Have you ever found yourself experiencing an intense flash of irrational anger or bitter envy towards someone else, only to immediately push that feeling down because it scares you? Have you ever noticed that despite your best conscious efforts to remain positive, kind, and completely put together, a hidden, darker force inside you occasionally breaks through, causing you to say or do things you later regret? Tuning into this audio right now is not an accidental event. Your mind is sending you a clear signal that you are ready to stop running away from the messy parts of your psychology and step into a journey of profound inner transformation. Welcome back. Most self-help platforms tell you a beautiful, comforting lie. They instruct you to focus exclusively on the light, to chant positive affirmations in the mirror, and to surgically cut out any negative emotion that passes through your awareness. But as you have likely experienced, the more you try to force yourself into a flawless mold, the more exhausted, hollow, and fragmented you actually feel inside. True transformation does not come from pretending you are a perfect saint. It begins with the radical courage to face your internal wounds, your secret insecurities, and the raw parts of your personality that you have spent a lifetime trying to hide from the world. Lean back, take a slow breath, and allow yourself to listen with absolute presence. Right now, we are going to look straight into the dark, retrieve the ultimate keys to your hidden psychology, and map out the definitive path to achieving a brilliant, whole, and deeply authentic life. Part 1, the persona trap, the beautiful armor that splits our soul. In our endless pursuit to feel validated, respected, and completely loved by modern society, we inadvertently spend the vast majority of our lives acting out an idealized script. From early childhood, we are carefully conditioned to understand that certain behaviors receive warm praise, while other, more raw expressions are met with immediate rejection, shame, or cold disapproval. To survive this social landscape, our minds design a sophisticated, protective psychological mechanism. We build a beautiful public mask. This mask functions as our social armor, presenting a polished, flawless, and acceptable version of ourselves to the external world while hiding our true, messy reality beneath the surface. We play the role of the exceptionally patient partner, the hyper-efficient corporate leader, the perfectly stable family member, or the always cheerful, encouraging friend. We invest an immense amount of vital energy into maintaining this spotless exterior, completely unaware that the more immaculate our public mask becomes, the more disconnected, exhausted, and deeply fragmented our internal reality grows. The brilliant Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung beautifully mapped out this exact structural trap when he observed that the persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society, fittingly a kind of mask designed, on the one hand, to make a definite impression upon others, and, on the other, to conceal the true nature of the individual. The fundamental danger of this process does not lie within the simple existence of a public mask itself. We naturally require a basic level of social grace to smoothly navigate professional environments, build community relationships, and maintain order within society. The true destructive trap occurs when we make the tragic error of completely identifying ourselves with our masks. You blindly begin to believe that you actually are the calm, infallible leader who never experiences fear, or the sweet, accommodating people pleaser who never feels a single flash of intense resentment. This total, unconscious identification forces you to slice away any human emotion, raw desire, or psychological impulse that does not perfectly match your chosen public character. When you spend decades violently suppressing your natural anger, your valid sadness, and your inner vulnerabilities simply to preserve an illusion of perfection for the watching crowd, you do not actually destroy those darker traits. You merely force them deep down into the hidden, unexamined vaults of your subconscious mind. You build a profound internal division, split into a public performance and a hidden reality, which slowly robs your life of genuine vitality and spontaneous joy. Many of us are completely trapped within this exhaustion cycle without ever realizing it. You wake up every single morning carrying an unspoken heavy weight, feeling as though you must step onto a grand stage and put on a continuous show for your family, your coworkers, and your social media followers. You feel deeply terrified at the mere thought of showing up as an imperfect human being who does not have everything completely figured out. This constant, relentless effort to preserve a polished reputation drains your nervous system, leaving you feeling profoundly hollow, anxious, and deeply lonely, even when you are surrounded by a massive crowd of cheering admirers. The mistake we make is believing that if we can just work harder, look better, and project more absolute confidence, this inner emptiness will eventually dissolve. But in reality, you are starving your true self while overfeeding a fictional character. True, sustainable transformation only begins when you find the courage to step back, look directly at your public mask, and acknowledge the immense psychological cost of your perfectionism. To apply this deep understanding to your self-development journey, practice observing your social shifts throughout the day. Notice the exact moments when your voice, your body posture, and your opinions automatically alter simply to appease or impress the external people around you. Ask yourself what specific part of your identity you are desperately trying to hide when you put on your polished performance. Reclaiming your personal freedom does not mean radically destroying your social roles or behaving recklessly in public. Instead, it means building a conscious space of self-awareness behind your mask, allowing you to see it simply as a practical tool rather than your absolute identity. Start allowing your small imperfections, your minor stumbles, and your authentic feelings to exist without immediate self-judgment or panic. When you stop dedicating your vital energy to maintaining a flawless illusion for the collective crowd, you reclaim your internal power, heal your split consciousness, and lay down the foundational bricks for an authentic life. We will now move directly into the next section of our deep psychological exploration with Everyday Better You, defining the shadow self and understanding how our repressed emotions grow in the dark. Part 2, what is the shadow self? The living, unexamined parts of our psyche. When we choose to step out of the exhausting persona trap and look beneath our beautiful social armor, we inevitably come face to face with a massive, dark landscape that our conscious mind has spent a lifetime avoiding. This unexamined territory is what deep analytical psychology defines as the shadow self. Your shadow is the hidden psychological reservoir that contains every single piece of your identity, every raw emotion, and every natural impulse that was deemed unacceptable, dangerous, or shameful during your early development. It is the repository of your intense anger, your deep-seated envy, your raw selfishness, your vulnerabilities, and your wild, untamed passions. From the exact moment you learn that expressing certain emotions caused you to lose the validation and warmth of your parents or society, your subconscious mind immediately severed those traits from your active awareness and pushed them deep into the dark. We mistakenly assume that by burying these parts of ourselves out of sight, they simply cease to exist. But in absolute reality, your shadow is not a dead, dormant grave. It is a highly active, living, and dynamic part of your psyche that constantly operates right beneath your daily conscious awareness. The brilliant pioneer of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, shed a timeless and piercing light on this hidden dimension of our nature when he wrote that everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. We attempt to build an artificial life entirely made of light, pretending that we are completely incapable of experiencing malice, fierce jealousy, or destructive urges. But a psychological system operates under a strict law of conservation. Nothing is truly destroyed, it is merely repressed. When you deliberately deny your shadow the right to be consciously seen and understood, you feed it with a massive amount of suppressed emotional energy. The longer these hidden traits remain completely unexamined in the dark, the blacker, denser, and more autonomous they grow. They begin to form an independent secondary personality inside your mind, a hidden force that silently waits for the exact moments when your conscious willpower is low, exhausted, or deeply stressed to break through your fragile defenses and hijack your entire behavior. You can observe the active presence of this hidden mechanism in your ordinary daily life through your sudden, uncontrollable emotional outbursts. Have you ever experienced a random moment where you completely lost control over a minor inconvenience, screaming at a loved one, or completely self-sabotaging an important project, only to look back hours later with deep confusion and intense guilt? In those precise moments, your conscious persona did not fail. Rather, your starved shadow self simply broke out of its psychological prison and took full control of your actions. When we live in total denial of our inner darkness, we turn ourselves into ticking time bombs, constantly walking on an unstable emotional minefield. You become deeply anxious, highly defensive, and easily triggered by the external world because you are subconsciously spending an enormous amount of mental energy keeping the heavy lid pressed down on your repressed emotions. To apply this deep understanding to your self-development journey and move toward authentic wholeness, you must transition from a state of denial to a state of radical curiosity. Stop viewing your negative emotions, your dark thoughts, or your hidden insecurities as terrifying defects that must be instantly eliminated from your reality. Instead, start treating them as valuable psychological data, as parts of your soul that are desperately screaming for your conscious attention and understanding. When a wave of intense jealousy, bitter resentment, or deep insecurity rises within your chest, do not immediately panic or look away. Lean into the discomfort, sit with the raw sensation, and ask yourself, what specific part of your identity was rejected in the past to create this current shadow? By bringing the light of unconditioned awareness into your internal darkness, you strip the shadow of its destructive, autonomous power, integrate your fragmented energy, and begin walking the genuine path of self-mastery. We will now proceed directly into the third section of our deep psychological journey with Everyday Better You, focusing on the pivotal shift of bringing our hidden subconscious material into the clear light of conscious awareness. Part 3. Carl Jung's ultimate highlight. Making the unconscious conscious. When we begin to understand that our shadow self is a living, breathing reservoir of repressed emotional energy, we are forced to confront a massive realization. We are not as in control of our daily lives as our conscious ego loves to believe. We pride ourselves on our logic, our carefully planned goals, and our structured routines on this journey to become 1% better every single day. Yet, we continuously find ourselves falling back into the exact same self-sabotaging relationship patterns, overreacting to minor criticisms, and hit by sudden waves of unexplainable anxiety or depression. The mistake we make is looking outward, desperately blaming our external circumstances, our difficult jobs, or the people around us for our recurring emotional pain. But the true hidden director of your life script is not located in the external world. It is operating right beneath your awareness within the deep trenches of your subconscious mind. The legendary pioneer of depth psychology, Carl Jung, left us a piercing, historic warning regarding this exact mental trap when he stated that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. To fully comprehend the depth of this psychological law, we must realize that our subconscious mind acts like a massive supercomputer, storing every single unexamined trauma, childhood wound, and repressed emotion you have ever experienced. When you choose to keep these heavy elements buried in the dark, they do not remain passive. They actively form invisible emotional filters over your eyes, completely distorting how you interpret reality, how you perceive the intentions of others, and how you choose to react to daily challenges. If you carry an unexamined shadow of abandonment from your early childhood, your unconscious mind will automatically direct you to feel intensely insecure in your current relationships, causing you to behave possessively or push people away before they can leave you. When your relationship inevitably collapses as a direct result of this behavior, your conscious ego stands back in tears, completely blind to its own self-sabotaging patterns, and bitterly laments that you are simply cursed by an unfair fate. This is the exact reason why traditional, surface-level self-help strategies so frequently fail to create lasting, sustainable transformation in our lives. You can read countless motivational books, force yourself to write down positive goals, and attempt to overwrite your mind with clean routines. But if you try to build a beautiful, positive life on top of a massive foundation of unexamined, repressed trauma, your unconscious mind will consistently veto your conscious efforts. It is equivalent to painting over a deeply rusted car with a brilliant new coat of paint and expecting the engine to magically stop failing. True, sustainable evolution requires us to gather the courage to do the difficult, messy internal work. We must actively descend into our own darkness with the light of awareness, unearth our hidden motives, and consciously integrate our fragmented parts into a unified whole. To integrate this deep truth into your reality, you must start practicing radical self-observation during your moments of intense emotional disruption. When you find yourself completely hijacked by an over-the-top reaction, a sudden burst of defensiveness, or a crippling bout of insecurity, immediately halt your physical instinct to lash out or look away. Step back into the position of the silent observer and gently ask yourself a piercing question. What hidden, unexamined part of my past is actively directing my behavior right now? Recognize that your current environment is simply a mirror, a catalyst that has successfully triggered an old, buried wound that was already waiting inside your psyche to be healed. By choosing to stay present with the discomfort rather than running away, you pull the hidden emotional material out of the dark subconscious and place it into the clear space of conscious awareness. This act of conscious illumination is how you strip the unconscious of its autonomous, destructive power over your actions, permanently break your repetitive cycles, and finally seize the true steering wheel of your destiny. Part 4. The projection mechanism: why what you hate in others is hiding within you. When we begin the difficult work of pulling our subconscious material into the clear light of conscious awareness, we quickly discover that our mind has a very clever way of avoiding its own darkness. Instead of forcing us to look directly at our internal flaws, our insecurities, or our repressed desires, our psyche automatically projects those exact traits outward onto the people around us. This psychological phenomenon is known as the projection mechanism. It is an unconscious defense system where you take a hidden part of your own shadow self, a trait that you subconsciously deem shameful, unacceptable, or terrifying, and you project it onto a coworker, a friend, a family member, or a public figure. You convince yourself that they are the ones who are being intensely selfish, deeply insecure, overly dramatic, or fiercely manipulative. By unconsciously placing your hidden defects onto an external target, your ego successfully protects itself from the painful realization that the exact behaviors triggering your intense emotional reactions are actually residing within your own mind. We mistakenly believe that our harsh criticisms of others are objective, accurate evaluations of their character. But in absolute reality, your strong emotional triggers are almost always a mirror reflecting a part of your own soul that you have completely disowned. The brilliant pioneer of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, shed a piercing light on this deceptive mental trap when he observed that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. To fully grasp the mechanics of this internal illusion, we must understand why certain traits in other people trigger such a disproportionate amount of anger, disgust, or bitter resentment within our chest. If someone around you is simply behaving selfishly or bragging about their achievements, and you possess a healthy, integrated relationship with your own ego, you will naturally notice their behavior with calm clarity, free of intense emotional attachment. You might see it as mildly annoying or unpolished, but it will never hijack your peace of mind or cause you to lose your emotional balance. However, if their arrogance or selfishness triggers a deep, boiling rage inside you, causing you to spend hours gossiping about them or obsessing over their flaws, it is a definitive sign that you are caught in a major projection. Their external behavior has successfully activated a starved, repressed part of your own shadow self. You might carry a hidden shadow of intense selfishness that you have brutally suppressed for decades to maintain your persona as a sweet, sacrificing individual. When you see someone else openly expressing that trait without a single drop of shame, your repressed shadow experiences a wave of fierce envy, and your conscious ego instantly translates that hidden envy into a loud, self-righteous campaign of moral condemnation against them. This is the exact reason why the people we find most difficult to tolerate in our ordinary lives are actually our greatest psychological mentors. They are completely unaware that by simply existing and behaving authentically within their own character flaws, they are continuously shining a massive, unedited spotlight directly onto the unexamined corners of our subconscious mind. When you live in total ignorance of this projection mechanism, you waste a tremendous amount of your vital internal energy trying to change, correct, or violently defeat the people around you. You enter a non-stop, exhausting war with your external environment, completely blind to the fact that you are merely fighting a desperate, losing battle against your own projected shadow self. To apply this transformative awareness to your self-development journey and move toward genuine wholeness, you must establish a strict psychological rule. Whenever you experience an intense, over-the-top emotional reaction to someone else's behavior, immediately halt your external judgments. Step back into the position of the silent observer, look directly into the mirror of the situation, and ask yourself a raw, honest question. What specific part of my own shadow is this person currently reflecting back to me? Ask yourself if you possess that exact trait in a hidden form, or if you are violently punishing yourself to suppress it within your own reality. By having the absolute courage to own your projections, you stop treating the external world as a battlefield, pull your vital energy back into your core, and transform your daily frustrations into a powerful highway for authentic self-healing and deep integration. Part 5. Radical Integration. The courage to dialogue with your inner darkness. When we finally recognize that our external irritations are merely mirrors of our own projected shadow, we arrive at the most challenging crossroads of the self-development journey. Most conventional psychological approaches instruct you to fix what is broken, to erase the negative habit, or to violently conquer your internal flaws. But in the realm of deep analytical psychology, you cannot heal a fragmentation by declaring war on yourself. True, sustainable transformation requires a complete reversal of strategy. You must move from a state of aggressive suppression to a state of radical integration. Integration does not mean approving of destructive actions or letting your worst impulses govern your reality. Instead, it means gathering the unshakable courage to sit down with your hidden, unloved traits, opening a conscious channel of dialogue with them, and welcoming them back as severed pieces of your own soul that have been trapped in the dark for decades. The visionary pioneer of depth psychology, Carl Jung, highlighted this essential truth about the human path to wholeness when he famously stated that I would rather be whole than good. To implement the practice of radical integration, we must first dismantle the deep psychological misunderstanding that our shadow traits are fundamentally evil, malicious, or designed to destroy our lives. When you look closely into the dark vaults of your subconscious mind, you realize a profound truth. Every single shadow aspect was originally a natural, healthy resource that was simply distorted by fear, survival instincts, or childhood trauma. Your intense defensiveness was once a vital shield built to protect a highly sensitive child from emotional abuse. Your fierce, boiling envy is merely a misplaced, starved desire for personal growth, screaming at you to pay attention to your own unfulfilled potential. When you treat these parts of your psyche as terrifying demons that must be eradicated, you force them to remain hostile, autonomous forces that will continuously sabotage your life. The breakthrough occurs when you deliberately choose to treat your shadow traits with the exact same empathy and curiosity you would extend to a frightened, neglected child. Instead of panicking or judging yourself when a dark thought, a wave of selfishness, or a deep insecurity surfaces within your awareness, welcome the feeling. Sit quietly with the physical discomfort in your body, breathe deeply, and intentionally invite that specific shadow trait into a conscious conversation. Ask it directly. What are you trying to protect me from? What deep, unfulfilled need are you attempting to communicate to my conscious mind? By choosing to listen without judgment, you will discover that beneath the aggressive, ugly mask of the shadow lies a trapped reservoir of vital energy that simply wants to be recognized, understood, and safely integrated into your active life. This process of internal dialogue is the definitive secret to unlocking an unshakable sense of internal stability and personal power. When you live in permanent denial of your dark side, you walk through life with an underlying fear of yourself, constantly terrified that your hidden flaws will be exposed to the world. But when you have consciously met your shadow, understood its origins, and integrated its core energy, you heal the painful split within your soul. You stop wasting an enormous amount of mental energy fighting internal wars, and you reclaim that exact power to build new, healthy habits. You become a deeply grounded, integrated individual who cannot be easily shaken, shamed, or manipulated by external opinions because you have already looked into your own darkness and found a profound, lasting peace. To apply this transformative practice to your daily reality, begin by dedicating 10 minutes during your quiet evening routine to journal about your emotional triggers. Write down the exact traits that cause you to lose your emotional balance today and intentionally write a letter of understanding to that hidden part of your psyche. Apologize to your shadow for abandoning it in the dark for so long and reassure it that it is now safe to exist within your conscious awareness. Understand that achieving true wholeness is not a rapid overnight event. It is a patient, non-linear journey of small, consistent steps. By choosing to embrace your hidden self day by day, you permanently break the chains of your past, step out of your protective social armor, and confidently build a brilliant, authentic life that completely belongs to you. Part 6. Transforming emotional triggers into stepping stones. The alchemy of self-awareness. When you have cultivated the rare courage to actively dialogue with your inner darkness, your entire relationship with your daily life experiences undergoes a massive, beautiful evolution. In the past, you viewed your sudden emotional upsets, your unexpected moments of irritation, and your deep insecurities as frustrating obstacles that ruined your peace of mind or disrupted your structured routines on this journey to become 1% better every single day. You used to react to these internal storms by either aggressively suppressing them behind your polished mask or projecting them onto the external people around you. But when you master the psychological art of shadow integration, you realize that your emotional triggers are not destructive defects at all. In absolute reality, Your triggers are highly sophisticated, built-in navigational systems engineered by your subconscious mind to highlight the exact areas of your soul that are still wounded, fragmented, and desperately crying out for your conscious healing. The visionary pioneer of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, provided a classic and timeless foundation for this mental shift when he famously stated that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. To successfully execute this internal alchemy, you must first dismantle the deep, common misunderstanding that emotional triggers are caused by external factors. When a coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment during an important meeting, or a close friend fails to reply to your message for hours, your physical instinct automatically blames them for your sudden wave of boiling anger or heavy anxiety. But a trigger can only exist if there is already a raw, unexamined wound waiting inside your psyche to be activated. The external event is simply a matching key that has unlocked a hidden vault of repressed trauma that you have carried for decades. If you did not carry a shadow self that deeply feared abandonment, unworthiness, or lack of control, the external trigger would simply pass through your awareness like a gentle breeze, leaving your core internal stability completely undisturbed. The moment you choose to view your daily emotional disruptions through this lens of radical self-responsibility, you strip the external world of its power to hijack your internal peace. Whenever you feel yourself becoming highly defensive, intensely jealous, or suddenly overwhelmed by insecurity, immediately step back into the sacred position of the silent observer. Halt any physical impulse to argue, complain, or escape the situation. Instead, bring your total conscious focus inward and ask yourself 3 piercing questions. Where exactly am I feeling this raw sensation in my physical body? What childhood wound is this adult situation currently mirroring? What hidden part of my shadow is desperately begging to be recognized right now? By choosing to stay present with the burning discomfort rather than running away, you transform a reactive crisis into a profound moment of self-discovery. This continuous practice of emotional alchemy is what separates a truly integrated individual from someone who is merely putting on a superficial show of self-improvement. When you consistently use your daily irritations as powerful stepping stones for inner exploration, you naturally stop treating your life as an exhausting battlefield of external conflicts. You realize that every difficult person you encounter and every uncomfortable situation you experience is actually a customized gift from the universe, designed specifically to pull your hidden subconscious material into the clear light of awareness. You gradually replace your habits of judgment with a deep sense of radical curiosity and compassion. You become the true master of your internal energy, permanently breaking your repetitive cycles and steadily constructing an authentic, brilliant life on a solid foundation of unshakable wholeness. Part 7. The birth of true wholeness. Standing tall in your integrated power. When you have learned to consciously transform your daily emotional triggers into powerful stepping stones for inner exploration, you finally arrive at the magnificent summit of this psychological evolution. Most traditional self-improvement methodologies keep you trapped in an endless, exhausting cycle of self-correction, forcing you to continuously fix, polish, or eliminate parts of your identity to satisfy an artificial standard of perfection. But true, sustainable fulfillment is never achieved by trying to become a flawless, one-dimensional character. It is born when you completely surrender the need to be perfect and instead embrace the radical reality of being whole. Wholeness means you no longer experience the painful internal division of hiding your flaws from the world. You stand tall as an integrated individual who has successfully reclaimed every single severed segment of their soul from the dark vaults of the subconscious mind. The pioneering visionary of depth psychology, Carl Jung, left us a definitive and guiding compass for this ultimate state of human maturity when he wrote that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. To fully embody the birth of true wholeness, we must completely step away from the common misunderstanding that achieving psychological integration means you will never experience negative emotions, dark thoughts, or moments of deep vulnerability ever again. A whole individual is not a rigid saint who is entirely immune to the natural storms of human existence. The true difference lies within your internal alignment. When a wave of intense anger, bitter jealousy, or deep insecurity naturally rises within your awareness, you no longer panic, judge yourself, or frantically try to suppress the feeling behind your public mask. Because you have actively dialogued with your shadow self and understood its protective origins, you can hold these dark emotional states in a space of immense compassion and radical self-honesty, allowing them to pass through your consciousness without letting them control your behavioral choices. This unshakable internal alignment is what creates a true state of unbothered peace and absolute freedom within your ordinary daily life. When you stop wasting an enormous amount of your vital mental energy fighting exhausting internal wars against your own shadow, you naturally reclaim that exact power to construct healthy habits, expand your creative intellect, and build meaningful connections with others. You completely outgrow the superficial need for constant external validation, applause, or social praise because you have already looked into your own darkness, integrated your fears, and discovered a profound, lasting sanctuary within your soul. You no longer view your imperfections as terrifying defects that must be hidden from the watching crowd. You see them as the rich, necessary contrast that gives your unique character its true depth, wisdom, and unrepeatable beauty. You transform from a fragile performer trying to satisfy a sick society into a powerful, authentic author of your own magnificent destiny. To firmly ground this final realization into your everyday reality, make a conscious decision today to completely lay down your heavy social armor. Let go of the exhausting pressure to always look perfect, always have the correct answer, or always project an illusion of absolute strength to the external world around you. Allow yourself to show up authentically as an imperfect, beautifully evolving human being who is patiently doing the deep internal work step by step. Understand that the journey to wholeness is not a competitive race against anyone else. It is a sacred, non-linear process of small, consistent decisions where you choose to actively love yourself through both your sunniest days and your darkest internal storms. By choosing to integrate your opposites day by day, you permanently heal your fragmented soul, step into your true personal power, and confidently build a brilliant, free, and truest life that fully belongs to you. We have traveled together down a profound path of absolute awakening, starting from the baseline of recognizing the heavy traps of the persona, descending into the dark vaults of our hidden subconscious mind, and learning to make our unconscious patterns fully conscious. We baited the deceptive mechanism of emotional projection, mastered the gentle art of radical integration, and discovered how to convert our intense daily triggers into powerful highways for self-healing and deep spiritual expansion. You have encountered this message at this precise moment because your consciousness is entirely prepared to receive a fresh wave of transformational energy and step boldly into an unwritten chapter of your life. Real change is undeniably a demanding path that requires fierce consistency, radical bravery, and an unconditional stream of love directed at your own soul. However, remember that every single drop of intentional effort you invest in looking inward today serves as the most durable brick building a lifetime of absolute peace and structural resilience. Thank you so much for investing your valuable time with us today on Everyday Better You. If this message deeply resonated with your heart, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, share this audio with the people you genuinely love, and leave your personal reflections below in the comments section. Stay completely consistent, keep nurturing your inner world, and continue walking beside us on this beautiful journey of becoming 1% better every single day. Goodbye for now, and we look forward to welcoming you back in our upcoming podcast episodes.